I think that Africa is at a point of opportunity. Africa has no automatic future. Africa is not on autopilot to some gilded age, as a lot of people seem to think. What is being rather prematurely, perhaps you might even say falsely, celebrated as Africa's rise is simply the continent having become a playground for globalization. That's a different thing from a continent rising. So now where we are, clearly Africa can rise. Nobody's questioning that. But how can it rise? And so the decisions we take today in African countries are what will determine whether in 30, 40 years Africa is closer to where it should be or farther away from it. For example, what are we doing about population growth? What are we doing about jobless growth? If you don't do anything serious about these challenges, 30, 40 years, you'll have a continent whose population may have doubled, but in which you have armies of young people who do not have gainful employment. This could create social problems. If you create jobs faster than population growth, you will not have this problem. If you create skills and human capital that balances out the growth of the population, you will not have this problem, because then you avoid the Malthusian dilemma, in which the more the population grows, the more the strain on the Earth's resources, becomes exacerbated. But if you create the population with the skills, they will produce more with less. They will be able to use high-yielding crop seeds to develop lots more food. And so you have food security over smaller acres of land. So that population increase is not having a negative impact. And that's why, Robert Malthus, the economist who formulated this theory, I say he would die of shock if he were alive today, because Western societies have beaten the dilemma that he so clearly sketched out. But the reason they were able to beat it is because Western societies embraced science and technology and its application through innovation. That's the secret of prosperity, and that's what Africa must engage. The roadmap I see for Africa's future is the roadmap I have established in this book, Imagine Africa. I think, first of all, Africa needs to understand that ideas matter, that ideas create realities, that they can change the environment through the way they think. It's important for Africans to think far more long-term than short-term. There's too much short-term thinking going on in Africa today. Not enough long-term strategic thinking, let alone the discipline to execute the product of strategy. So this is a fundamental requirement for Africa's economic transformation. It has not yet been embraced, and there's no need for us to kid ourselves that it has. And my book is a realistic appraisal of this whole subject. So that's one. The second is that developing that organizational principle, that ability to actually execute plans, it is so important. This means building up value systems of discipline in African societies. The third is that, of course, the art of governance, which is currently evolving in the continent, needs to be developed even further. It's an evolutionary process. It's much better than it used to be at some points in the past. But this process needs to continue. Building institutions is absolutely critical to a successful roadmap for Africa's future.